Welcome to Dealer Driven, where the rubber meets the road to success.
Welcome to Dealer Driven. I'm Michael Hayes.
And I'm Cameron Wilson. Today we're tackling a topic that's becoming mission critical for dealerships everywhere: data ownership. As digital retailing accelerates and technology vendors multiply, dealers are generating more data than ever. But the question is, who really controls it?
Joining us today is Joe Akers, a dealership management consultant with over 30 years in the retail auto industry. Joe spent 28 years working for Ford, Nissan, and Porsche dealerships in multiple roles, including serving as general manager, and for the past 2 decades, he's focused heavily on digital marketing strategy and evaluating true ROI. And Cameron, I don't know if you knew this, but he is NADA's top-ranked bowler.
I did not know that, but Joe also works closely with dealerships to help them understand their digital ecosystems, protect their data, and use it strategically to drive growth.
Let's get started.
Joe, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Cameron. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate the invitation.
Terrific. Well, Joe, we hear the phrase own your own data a lot. When we say that, what does that actually mean in practical terms?
You know, dealerships own a very valuable resource. This resource is their customer database and all their customers' actions within their dealership, both in-store and online. By own their own data, I expect dealers to have a complete control of their customers' information, improving this data over time, and not giving away this important asset.
So why is data ownership such a critical issue for dealers right now?
You know, dealerships don't do a great job of protecting this valuable set of data. Now, the vast majority of dealers are very protective of customers' personal information. However, they provide large sections of this data to vendors without always segmenting and controlling what and who is on this list. They then rely on the vendor to clean, remove duplicates, and break this data into audiences. These file transfers have customer information the vendor doesn't need. Items like money down, monthly payment, banking information, repair order history, etc., are not relevant to the purposes of it shouldn't be shared with the vendor. Sometimes these file transfers are done outside of the control of the dealer, or when the dealer does get involved, they're often done through email.
So, Joe, then if a dealer wants to take ownership of their data, what's the first place they should start? Is it the contracts? Is it the integrations? Or what other things should they be doing to help protect this data?
The DMS contracts are very well designed. There are an occasional exception. However, your attorney reviewing this contract is usually sufficient. In very vague terms, you make sure all of your client records and all data points on these records are owned by you. You make sure the DMS provider cannot sell, share, or keep your data without your express consent. It should be clear how you'll be receiving these records should your relationship end. CRM contracts are also very well designed and have most of these items mentioned covered. The biggest exposure comes from the other vendor contracts. Dealers overshare their data with these vendors. They allow dealerships' customer data to be exposed and sometimes even manipulated by the vendor. This cannot happen. Vendors only need enough data to complete their assigned task. Unfortunately, we give vendors unlimited access. In addition, getting your data file back after a vendor relationship has ended can be very difficult. I would start with a thorough review of all vendor contracts.
What are some red flags in vendor agreements that signal a dealer may be giving up more data rights than they realize?
Any agreement asking for more data than the task requires is an immediate red flag. Only provide the data needed to complete the assigned task. All data should be shared through a secure transfer method like NADA Vault or something alike. Emailing lists needs to be a thing of the past. Vendors may not wish to pay DMS or CRM fees to access data, but it is the cost of doing business. True dealer partners have made the investment in providing a secure transfer data method.
So, I'm going to jump in really quick. I know in the past, Michael and I have done a episode on NADA Vault, which we like to say is a free resource for our members to really help them better secure their data. So, if they're interested in learning more about that, we do have a podcast episode that you can listen to.
Terrific. Absolutely. So then how important is it having that single source of truth, and what does that look like in a dealership environment?
This becomes more important every day. Most of our conversation has centered around the DMS and CRM customer data files. However, one of the most important tools is probably used the least, our website data. Most dealers do not own their own GA4 account. And if they do, it's not properly set up. Without proper setup, the dealer will not be able to properly assign attribution and therefore spend more marketing dollars than necessary. The real power comes from the dealer combining all this data into a unified set.
What are the operational or marketing consequences when a dealership doesn't have that clarity?
So dealers love to use their gut to make business decisions. This has been how dealers have made marketing decisions for years. Now imagine painting a wall by throwing a bucket of paint against it. It works, but the results are always mixed. As we establish marketing expectations, we can improve measurement and have a better basis for evaluating results. This should lead to improved marketing efficiencies.
We talk a lot about ownership, but what about quality? Should we be emphasizing not just access to data, but making it more efficient and therefore more valuable?
Absolutely. Quality is imperative. I've started to see dealerships' marketing spends reducing as much as 35% simply because of the quality of their data and the audiences to which they market. Do you want to reach an in-market shopper looking for a vehicle that you have in stock? Or do you want to reach someone with negative equity who might be in the market 3 years from now? The decision is yours.
So, Joe, how often should dealership data be cleaned? And what are some best practices for keeping it accurate and usable?
Great question. As dealers get more involved in this process, let's first define cleaning their data, and then we can address how and how often. In a perfect scenario, a dealer would bring all of their customer data into their DMS, and it would be their source of truth. However, today's DMSs are not built to handle all the dealership's marketing needs. The CRM is also not built to house or share this data. You need a clean room, so to speak. A singular file, which includes all customer data uploaded with all the data points available today. It would include one name file per person and tie households together. It would identify all email addresses, not just the one the consumer uses for junk mail. It would know which vehicles in the customer's garage and which vehicles they no longer own. In addition, you would have records for website visitors. You will identify them either as existing customer file or an ID number. You will know what actions these consumers took on your website and where they were shopping. There are companies available to do this for you. They add as much or as little data points as you're willing to purchase. Now, you would think once your data is clean that you were done. However, dealers found that their original data is 50% incorrect or dirty. And clean data becomes dirty or bad within as little as 30 days. In-store processes lead to this data corruption. Take any dealer employee and see how many records they have in the dealer's DMS. The numbers are staggering. Therefore, I would recommend monthly data hygiene. During this process, I would want to bring all recent transactional and website data into the data set, then go through the process of adding additional data points and reconciling it with the existing data set, my singular database of truth.
So, Joe, just a little off script here. Is that what we call CDPs, basically customer data platforms? They throw that CDP around a lot?
No, this is before CDPs.
Before CDPs. Absolutely. Thank you.
Because the CDP is ultimately where you're storing your data set.
So if a dealer wants to start tomorrow and gain more control over their data, what's the one piece of advice that you would give them?
I would start with identifying what you want to do with this data. What audiences are ready to receive your marketing message? Do you believe 5 years of historical data is enough, or do you need your entire database? Which data points are important to your marketing efforts? Where are you going to store this file? Should you combine the data file of multiple stores that you operate? Then interview data hygiene companies and see what services they offer and at what costs. The marketing savings will be plentiful, but you have to do the hard work.
Well, Joe, this has been such great information. And, I guess by cleaning your data, I think you mentioned before that you saw one dealer saving 30% on their marketing. That's a wonderful start for cost savings in a dealership. So thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That's all the time we have for today's episode. A big thank you to Joe Akers for helping us break down what data ownership really means and why it matters now more than ever. One of the things that Joe mentioned was protecting the data from your website. So using GA4 that is properly set up. NADA and the Academy has put together a new marketing analytics bootcamp. First time coming out in March of this year. Go to nada.org and look for NADA Seminars Marketing Analytics Bootcamp. Look forward to seeing you in the first one. We'll be repeating it throughout the year. Another way to help protect yourself.
Wonderful. Well, this has been Dealer Driven from NADA. I'm Cameron Wilson.
And I'm Michael Hayes. Keep your dealership in drive, and we'll see you next time.